Good day, subscribers. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am Jeremy. This is the Financial Education Channel, and today we're talking about the 3 stocks I'm buying now, the 3 stocks I believe in the most, the 3 biggest investments I have right now for the April edition, guys. We're going to get into that. We're going to look at how these stocks have done since I've added them to the list. We're going to look at why I actually believe in them so much. We're going to look at all that today, guys. First off, we got 2 pieces of housekeeping to do real quick. One is tomorrow I got a video that you guys should love, which is going to be the exact opposite of this video, which is basically going to be taking these 3 stocks I am invested in, right? These 3 stock picks, and I'm going to tear them down. It's just going to be negativity. It's just going to be looking at it from a bearish perspective on these 3 stocks. So I think you guys will really enjoy that, which is important that everybody does that when they look at investments. Look at the bearish side, not just the bullish side, which is what we look at when I'm talking about being bullish on a stock, right? And the last piece of housekeeping to keep up with is the book is done. The book is finally done. I haven't released it yet or anything like that, but 2 days from now, I got a sick video that's just like a hype video that's literally all day tomorrow. I'm going to be filming this hype video, and I don't want to go into it because I just don't want to go into it. But anyways, I'm looking super forward to that, guys. It'll have the actual date that the book's going to be released and all those kinds of things. So anyways, let's get into this, guys. So the stocks I had last month were GoPro, Wynn Resorts, and Google. Let's see how they've done since I've actually added them to the list. So not just how they did the past month. So GoPro, I'm down over 33% of my position. That is absolutely pathetic, especially when it's your #1 stock, the stock you're most invested in, down over 33%. Wynn Resorts, completely opposite story. Wynn Resorts is a freaking beast, up over 84% on my Wynn Resorts position, and that one's just been taken off, and I just wish that one was my #1 stock instead of my #2. Oh my goodness, that would be a different financial situation for me. Last one's Google, which Google just got added this past month, so they hardly moved this month, up 0.1%. So that's what we got going on. But the question is, what are the 3 stocks I believe in most now? What are the 3 stocks I'm buying? My 3 biggest investments? Well, the #3, we'll start off at #3. Google. Google stayed in that #3 spot. Now, why am I so excited about Google? Google has so much going for them. It's ridiculous, guys. Look at this growth. This is from their latest quarter. They just posted about a month or 2 ago. Look at the growth from $21 billion in revenue in 2015 to this past year, over $26 billion in revenue. That's absolutely incredible growth rate for a company of Google's size. That's over 20% revenue growth. The one thing I did not like is that the fact that net income did not grow even anywhere close to 20%. So this just shows me that Google maybe should pull back on some of the spending that they're spending on a lot of projects that may or may not pan out. If they cut back on a lot of this spending, that's, things like Google Fiber, things like the driverless car, some of these things that didn't really work out in the end, they pull back on some of that money, the profitability will go up drastically in this company, even though, $5 billion profit in 1 quarter, that's pretty dang impressive. I'm just saying they could take it up to the next level. So as far as Google, what else do I like? I like the fact that this company has $86 billion sitting around in cash and investments. They only have about $3 billion in debt. So basically net is about $83 billion in my valuation that I can basically take off of the market cap. And so that brings down the PE ratios much lower and things like that. Now, of course, I'm the one that does that type of valuation of companies. Not everybody does it that way. That's the way I do it. So cash rich like insane. Like they could buy some huge corporations out there. If you just took their cash and that was like its own company, right? That was its own company, the cash, it'd be one of the biggest, it would be one of the 100 biggest companies in the United States of America. It's mind-blowing to think about. So, now why do I like Google for the next, let's say, 3 to 5 years? Like, what do they have coming up here that's going to really affect things for them? Obviously, they have the Google and they have YouTube. Those are the 2 growth drivers as far as in the short term, right? Those are the profit beasts. That's how they're making all this money, Google and YouTube. But they have some things that are really going for a year out plus that I'm loving. One is the Pixel phone. This is a phone I think has been a huge success for Google right off the bat. It's gotten amazing reviews, I've never seen a company release a first flagship phone like that. And I know Google's kind of been in the game, but they've never released a Google phone actually. Never seen the type of positive response that Google has gotten from this phone, guys. So I think this is a big competitive threat for anybody in the Android space, and maybe just a little bit in the Apple space too. Apple, I would be keeping their eye on Google with the Google Pixel phone and how that evolves over time. time. The next thing I'm very excited about with Google here is YouTube TV, $35 a month. This just got announced last month. $35 a month, you're gonna get all your basic channels, your local channels and whatnot. You're also going to get channels like ESPN, a lot of those networks that people like myself love, and those are networks like people like myself that are into sports, we have to have. Like, we have to have those channels. And the only reason I'm still signed up to a cable provider is because of the sports channels like ESPN, because they have so much content on those channels that I would end up missing out as a sports fan. So the minute I get out on my contract I'm in right now, I'm going to be switching that YouTube TV as soon as it's out. I can guarantee that. So I think that's going to be a huge growth driver for them for the coming years. And then the last one, which is probably the biggest growth driver, is actually Google Cloud. So Google is getting some phenomenal things with the cloud service. They're getting huge customers and they're getting small customers. So they're getting people like Snapchat, Apple. Did you know Apple's a customer of Google in the cloud? I don't even know if you guys knew that. And those guys are like enemies. That's how much, Google's cloud platform is good. So Snapchat, Apple, Spotify, Coca-Cola, some huge, huge corporations. And then they also have a cloud platform for small business owners like myself. So they're really one of the only cloud companies that's really getting it from the high end, the huge customers, and the lower end, the small business owners like myself. So Google's in a very good position with the cloud, and that is why I am so bullish on Google, because they've got the profit beast right now in Google, the search engine. They got the YouTube, which is just a growth beast right now for them, and then they got the Pixel phone, they got YouTube TV, and they got the cloud service. And so I look at Google with a PE of 22, a forward PE of 22, and I say, with this type of growth right now, that market cap's going to go up substantially over time as long as they can keep this growth going. So that's why Google is my number 3 stock. So what is the number 2 stock? The number 2 stock stayed Wynn Resorts. Wynn Resorts stayed in its position this month. Now let's look at this latest quarter they reported here, guys, about back in January. So net revenues of $1.3 billion for the fourth quarter of 2016, an increase of 37.3%. Or $353 million. That is absolutely amazing, guys. And then we go down to look at on a U.S. GAAP basis, net income attributable to Wynn Resorts Limited was $113 million. So that's basically a profit, or $1.12. And that's a 30% increase from 30% increase of $26.6 million from the previous year, which they did $87 million in profit. So Wynn is in a great position. This is why I've been invested in it, because I knew Wynn Palace was going to open. I knew the amount of profitability they would get from that property. I absolutely believed in it. You cannot bet against Steve Wynn. If you bet against Steve Wynn, you're betting against 30-year track record of nothing but success. If you're betting against Steve Wynn, then you're betting this will be the one time he was going to fail on Wynn Palace. And I knew he wasn't going to fail. This guy never fails. He never lets down. He always wins. He always wins. If you want to bet against him, good freaking luck betting against that guy. So I'm looking at Wynn Resorts. It's a 23 PE, which is a little high, but when you're growing revenues and profits at over 30%, it's not so high after all. Now also, Wynn has a phenomenal growth story behind it as far as the next 1 to 5 years. The things that Wynn has going for them, it's substantial. So obviously this year and moving forward, they have Wynn Palace, which just opened less than 6 months ago. That's going to be a huge growth driver for this year and going forward. And then they have a small mall that is actually opening up here in Wynn Las Vegas. I just saw the construction. It's looking great, and I would expect that to be open sometime within the next 6 to 9 months, which should add maybe $20 million in profit, something around there. So that's a very good thing. It's just a small amount, but still $20 million, $20 million. Then they have Wynn Everett opening up in Boston. That should open up within about the next 2 to 2.5 years. And that is going to be a great property in a huge metropolitan area where people just love to go and travel. Boston, and a lot of people have to travel there for corporations and things like that. Then on top of that, they have Wynn Paradise Park, which they're supposed to set and start construction on that at some point this year. Possibility of more toward out in the fall. They may start construction on that, and that's looking like it'll probably be about a 2-year construction timeline, maybe 2.5 years. So you got so many growth engines. You got Wynn Palace in the short term and in the long term. I mean, that's just going to be a beast for a long time. You got the Wynn Paradise Park. You got the new Wynn Mall opening up. Then you got Wynn Everett, a huge new property. So Wynn has a lot of things going for it as far as the growth engine moving forward here, guys, and that is why I love Wynn Resorts. And that's why it's my number 2 stock. The number one stock, can we guess what it is? GoPro. It's never going to change. No, someday I'm sure it won't be my number one stock, but right now GoPro is my number one stock. I'm feeling more confident in GoPro than I probably have since I probably started investing in it at first. So GoPro has a lot of things going for it right now. The first thing is 2 weeks ago, they affirmed Q1 2017 at the high end of the revenue guidance, which is very good, and they target full year non-GAAP profitability in 2017. They're cutting operating expenses. They had to cut a lot on employees, unfortunately, but they needed to. Absolutely. They lost $400 million last year. They cut 2017 operating expenses by more than $200 million year over year. And then if you look at this, so GoPro announces it's affirming 2017 first quarter revenue to be the upper end of its previously announced $190 million to $210 million range, and repeated its target for full year non-GAAP profitability. The company also announced a restructuring that reduces full year GAAP operating expenses to below $585 million and non-GAAP operating expenses to below $495 million. So what does all this mean? What does all this mean? Well, one, revenue is coming in stronger than they expected. That's good for the short term. Now, longer term out, the way I look at this longer term out, they've cut a huge amount of expenses, which they absolutely need to do. When you have over $1 billion in revenue and you cannot somehow make a profit on that and you lose $419 million, you need to cut employees, and you need to cut employees drastically, especially when the product you sell is a high margin product, which the GoPros are. Everything GoPro sells is high margin. So they needed to absolutely cut down on operating expenses. So when I look out at GoPro, 2017, I expect them to definitely be profitable on a non-GAAP basis. I think that it's very possible they could eke out a small profit on a GAAP basis as well. But what I'm really focused on is 2018, which 2018, when I look at GoPro, they have a market cap of about $1.2 billion. In 2018, based upon the way they've cut expenses, based upon their product roadmap, I think this is a company that could realistically do a $100 million profit in 2018. $100 million, and that's on a GAAP basis, not a non-GAAP basis. That's going to be huge. That's going to be huge for GoPro because that would put it at a PE of around 12, which is super low. And when you're showing that type of growth, when you go from, let's say, a $400 million loss, right? Then all of a sudden you're about break even. Then all of a sudden the next year you're at a $100 million profit. Then we're talking about a completely different company. And this, mind you, is a conservative estimate on my part, in my opinion. This is not something that I'm like, if they come out with this great drone and they come out with this camera that just kills it. I'm just expecting all right products, maybe good products from GoPro, nothing like outstanding. That would totally change my whole thinking on GoPro if they announced something that was like groundbreaking, that just got everybody super psyched and things like that, guys. So that's the way I'm looking at GoPro. I think it's going to be, it's a full turnaround story. There's no doubt about it. And I think the first visibility to people is right now what's happening. I mean, Q4, they had revenue go up 23%, and everybody just kind of passed that by. 23% revenue growth. Everybody was just like, who cares? Okay, and then finally with Q1, now at the upper end of the guidance, now all of a sudden everybody's like, okay, and they're cutting expenses. Now everybody's starting to pay attention to. Analysts are starting to get a little more bullish, even though there's probably still more bearish than bullish. But the tide is turning with GoPro. And then I look around and I see GoPros everywhere I'm looking. Casey Neistat, the most famous YouTuber of them all, he is back to vlogging, and I've watched the last few vlogs he's got. He's got multiple images of GoPros during those vlogs. One was on the UPS driver that like always shows up at his building, right? Another was he's using basically a GoPro Karma grip to get like shots where he'll like fast forward it, right? And he's walking through something and there's a Karma grip right there on the table, and he's using that a lot in the vlogs. I've seen it in like 2 or 3 episodes of like the past 5 episodes he's done. So that's a very good sign. And I saw him at that beach. He was at the beach the other day. He's got a GoPro Session in his hand. I'm like, there's a lot of like subliminal GoPro advertising there. Now, I don't think GoPro's paying him to do that. I have no clue. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. I don't think so, because I think he would have to disclose that. Regardless, I don't really care in the end. All I care is that the fact that this guy gets millions of views every single time he releases a video. Millions of views. And if GoPros can be in that, and GoPro products can be in that, that's fabulous. The only product I don't see is he never uses a Karma drone pretty much ever. He has a Karma drone. He almost never uses it. He almost always uses the DJI drones. He uses a Mavic especially. So GoPro cameras are in GoPro Karma Grip, that's good, but I don't think he'll be using the drone anytime soon. So regardless, that's a good sign. Then I look and I'm like watching the Pro Bowl skill competition. This is back in February. And every single guy's like got a freaking GoPro in his head. I'm looking at Beckham and all these receivers. They got GoPros on their head. Drew Brees got a GoPro on his hat. And I'm just like, this is big time stuff for GoPro that they're in these things without being an advertiser, right? This is like way more powerful in my opinion than placing an ad on TV, placing an ad here on YouTube, placing an ad anywhere. Because this is stuff like people are actually using their products, and these videos or these things are getting seen by millions of people, if not tens of millions of people. So I look at GoPro and I'm super excited. I'm the most excited I've been since I started investing in it in the early days. So that's what we're looking at here. Google, super excited. Wynn, same thing. And GoPro, same thing. Guys, let me know if any of these stocks you currently own or if any of them you're thinking about buying or whatnot. If you don't own any of these stocks and you like 3 other stocks your favorite, let me know why you would like those stocks. I would love to hear from you guys in that comment section. Hit a thumbs up if you enjoyed this. And if you just came across this and you're not subscribed yet, you may want to. We talk personal finance. We talk entrepreneurship. I'm an actual business owner. I give away so many business tips on this channel. We talk the stock market, the most of everything. Thank you for watching, guys, and have a great day.